This morning, I want to tell you a very powerful story. A very, very powerful testimony. If you believe in God, if you believe in Jesus Christ, if you believe in the end times, then your Father, God, wants you to sit down and listen. No matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what you believe in. He wants you to hear this statement. He wants you to hear every single word that I have to tell you in this video. He wants you to sit down. He wants you to feel the truth and take it on board. I want you to listen to me very carefully. There's no one in the world that can tell you what I can tell you. You will not find another person anywhere on social media platform or anywhere else in the world that's telling you the things I'm telling you. And I can guarantee you, without any doubt whatsoever, that I'm the only one telling you what I'm telling you. I'm the only one of a kind worldwide. In the most powerful documents on earth, I am the only one of a kind in every study done. I'm developed very different than anybody else in the world. I'm very different than anybody else in the world. There's nobody else on earth like me. I'm not saying that for any ridiculous reasons or to be selfish or any other reason than the truth. The God's honest truth. There is nobody else developed in the world like me. There are 13 videos in this link. There are 15 meters of documents you can FOI about me. I have left my mark on earth more profoundly than what you will even begin to understand or even believe, but it's the truth. And every single thing is documented. Okay, it's not hearsay or word of mouth. Every single thing about me is fully documented by the biggest think tank on mastermind reports, the biggest mental health research and DNA studies done. There are reports about me on the front page of newspapers, 17 of current affairs shows, front page of magazines. Okay, I have left my mark on earth and been on news many times, running the biggest nightclubs in Savage Corner, Queensland, #1 in the underground world, #1 in the Star Chamber inquiry across Australia, the most wanted in the biggest court cases in Australian history and the most corrupt cases in every university as well, by Chief Justice Jersey, the biggest judge on the bench. So my point of my story is that I started at the bottom and I was rejected by my parents. Okay, I started at the very bottom of the streets. I was rejected by my parents. I was a black sheep of the family. I left school at 12 years old. I ended up on drugs. Okay, I was stressed, got picked on all the time, and I didn't know how to take life. I just didn't know how to take life as a child because I was different. I was very different. From the minute I came into this world, I was very different. I told my mother about the worst moment in her life in 1945 in World War II, 15 years before I was born, and she didn't cope with that very well. And I was just a child. I didn't know what was going on. I was different. And when I went to school, I was different. I got picked on all the time because I was different. I was very different. I was always rejected by a majority of normal people, and I didn't know why. I couldn't work that part out. I went through my life, okay, on the path that I was meant to go through, and I didn't even know. I had no idea. I was never far left, far right. I never followed religious, political behaviour or new cults. I never followed anybody. I was just being myself, innocent. I was always just being innocent. I never created character. I never created a personality with mentality. I just lived in my spirit. I was always spiritual because I was drowned in a bathtub at 2 years old. I died, clinically dead. And when I died, I went through a special event I can't talk about. But that's when I saw my mum back in 1945 in World War II. And the day she told me that, I had a massive inflection point because when I died, I saw a lot of things. And I just thought they were visions and dreams because I used to ask Mum about them. I said to Mum, I said, Mum, where were we? What happened? She said, what are you talking about, son? Mum, we're sitting in a cellar. And I'm sitting in your arms, Mum, and we're shit scared because there's bombs outside this little window. There's bombs outside, Mum. And we're shit scared, Mum. Where were we? What happened? I was having a nightmare that was tormenting me as a child, an innocent child. You know, like the boogeyman, the monster bed. I had this moment, this bad nightmare used to haunt me all the time. And I kept on saying to Mum, where were we? What happened? Because I knew it was real. And it scared the living shit out of me. And that's because it was the most terrifying moment of my mum's life. And I was in her body. I was in her third eye. I was in her sixth sense. When I died, I went into her timeline, in a time where time stands still like it serves. And I went into her timeline and I saw her in her mother's arm as if it was me in my mother's arms. It's as if I was her. And I described the picture perfect to her and exactly how she felt in that moment. And she was sitting in Uncle's bowling alley in a cellar down the back, and there was bowling ball racks on each side. And I described the bowling ball racks to my mum. And she got shit scared because I was down in the bathtub at 2 years old and she didn't do nothing about it with the guy who drowned in the bathtub. She didn't report him. And there's a long story to this, but she didn't know how to take this. She thought I was coming back to haunt her because she didn't do anything about this guy. And that's what she thought for a long time. She didn't know how to deal with this. So she told me I was dreaming. She said it's just a nightmare because she couldn't deal with it for a long time. But the day she told me that I was drowned in a bathtub and that was why, it came to me like a light bulb idea with a picture that tells you 1,000 words from out of the blue. Dimensional thinking, remote viewing, right? Deja vu, to predict the future, prevents what's going to happen. Mental telepathy, ESP, and I have all these abilities. I'm different. I have my genetic process with all my ancestry tools to do every single thing that Christ can and more than every study done. I brought someone back to life in 1992 with 7 peer reports and CCTV. And the most powerful program written in 2003, the one and only, worldwide #1 for 8 months. And in a study done, and they interviewed her, she said, I'm the one that had the power to bring her back to life. Okay? And when it happened, I was sitting there in that room. It was a massive miracle that took place, but I didn't even know it had anything to do with me. I did not know that it had anything to do with me at the time. But I was blessed from the day I was born with miracles like this, and I didn't even know. I didn't even know because I was trapped in my mind in a personality and still trying to find my way. I didn't know who I was, why I was here, what the meaning of life was. I was just going through my life. And that's the best way to explain it. I didn't know. I didn't know with everybody creating characters everywhere and the way that the world was. So dysfunctional, so many mental disorders, so much DNA defects, so much rape and bashing children, and the horrible things that are going on in this world behind closed doors that's being oppressed so much. But when you live in the streets, You live a different life than what the rest of the world does on a screen, and actors on a screen, and Hollywood characters and American dreamers on screens. They're not normal people. They're not spiritual people. They're just personalities and mouthpieces that deceive you non-stop. They're not spirituality. They're mentality. I know people. I know spiritual people. You know, like back in the 60s and the 70s, we were connected with everybody in the streets. We were happy. We were talking to everybody in the streets. And people were very positive. You know, there's only 2% mental disorders and defects. It's 98.7% today. Right? Mental disorders and defects are going through the roof. Right? Everyone's on drugs and can't cope. People aren't normal anymore. They're not spiritual. They're just personalities. They got no aura anywhere. The aura's collapsed everywhere. The atmosphere's collapsing. Birds are going around circles and falling out of the skies. Animals are going around circles all over the earth, and they're dying as well. 550,000 cattle die like this in Australia, 500,000 in Kansas, and 600,000 sheep in the Middle East, and many places in the wild. Fish going around circles in the ocean, the atmosphere collapsing all over the world, lost 38 to 98% nutrition value worldwide. Bacteria is collapsing between 50 and 100% every human being on Earth. 77% of all Western children are born today with chronic diseases reported worldwide because their species in denial. Generation X has got no genetic memory. They've got no genetic process. They lost faith in their own natural selection and natural order in life. Right? They're now unnatural, making unnatural selection worldwide. They're artificial human beings in post-transhuman stage, and they don't believe in it. They're only mental species. They only rely on grammar. They got no mental telepathy, ESP, Momo, and telekinesis, levitation, spoon-bending, clock winding, folding space and time with deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. They got no spirituality. They got no sixth sense with a picture that tells them 1,000 words they cannot lie on. They cannot think with the universal language. They can only think with the mind. They're trapped inside the mind. They can only use up to 15% of their brain. We use 100%, and we're the most avoided people in the world. But we're the only ones left. Imagine only 113 people in the world left that are normal, with perfect DNA and no mental disorders, no defects. 113 masterminds left in the world that can master their own mind and not mastered by the mind. And you think any of these species are qualified to talk and judge? No, they're not. They're controlled by an outside influence that controls the reality that they gave consent to, no matter what they say. They live in their consciousness, a mental event, a mental process, an illusion, imagination, set up by the Rockefellers into the conscious singularity by WF. And everybody lives in their consciousness, in their mentality. They even nominate that themselves, and every new age, listen to the barcodes they're into. Every professor and scientist in America believes in light, power, vibrations, and frequencies being a higher enlightenment and more authentic than pure love. How do they know? They got no aura. Their aura only works 3.5 hours at night. Their body cells are corrupts illusion during the daytime. They live inside their mind with mentality, right, with artificial intelligence and evolution mutation with atheism tools, and they select that kind of grammar. And when they select that kind of grammar, it's because they don't have any love to begin with, because their aura's back to front on reverse psychology engineering. Right? REL, right? B-R-E-L is voltage reliability in your body cells, your aura, which is your spirituality, your sixth sense. And it's only working in 1.3% of the population. No matter what comes out of their mouth, it doesn't work in Westerners. They're only personalities today. They have no aura in their body cells. They have no sixth sense, 27 biofields. They have 32 senses, 27 don't work. They live in a delusional parasitosis with parasites, right, inside their voltage reliability. And it's every single thing they die from and suffer from prematurely. And that's why it's declared worldwide by the top scholars in the world. It's the voltage reliability in DNA, the book of life, declared by Jeremy Givers, right, and 16,000 top scholars in the world and 45,000 teachers. We listen to the wrong voices in our mind, okay, and everybody's in denial about it. And they say that 95% of humanity is now beyond the point of return. They can no longer change mankind from the way he thinks, and the way he judges, right? He doesn't realize he's trapped inside his mind. He's not in his spirituality. He's in his mentality. And no matter what he says and what grammar he uses, it's not going to help him because the mind cannot work it out. The mind is extremely limited. That's why you can only use 7 to 15% of your brain. Only 10% in 98.7%. The rest can only use up to 15%, but you can use 100%. You can repair your DNA 24 hours a day. You have longevity. You have 2 molecules of mortality. You have 130 nucleoside molecules, genetic repair kit. And when they're clockwise, they work 24 hours a day. Okay? And you don't suffer the consequences. You don't suffer stress, fear, anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion, and paranoia. You don't live in a comfort zone. You don't listen to the voices inside your mind because it's only a personality. And you're trapped in a personality into the mind. You don't know what you're doing, but you think you do, but you don't. Believe me, you don't. You're not qualified to judge when I can use 100% of my brain and you cannot use any more than about 7 to 10. Your top scholars can only use 15% because they're living inside their mind with IQ, and it's only a mathematical beauty to work things out with. IQ is based on 98% memory. It's a memory box. It's 5 senses. And that's where all the voices are in your mind when you think critically. And they tell you do it, and don't do it. But you will do as you're told. Because they're just a personality. And they'll tell you whatever you want to believe in a comfort zone. They'll sound heavenly, like Christ's consciousness. But it's not really your voice. It is the voices from the tree of knowledge you get mentally institutionalized at school. That's what you go to school for, to become mentally institutionalized. Then the voices come into your mind, and you become a competitive creature, and you lose your sixth sense, and your natural process, and your natural selection. A child's a genius at 5 years old can mastermind a computer game between 3 and 7, and respond 7 times faster than an adult can. A child has an aura that's clockwise when it comes into this world. And he can think instinctively outside the mind with his sixth sense. And I've shown you this on video on YouTube. 0 to 7, they're perfect. By the time they're 8, they can read, draw, and write blindfolded, using their sixth sense and their third eye to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. So by the time they're 12, they can predict the next car coming around the corner, what colour it is. So they have deja vu and can predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. And they can predict who's ringing on your phone, okay, who they are, where they come from, and what they're wearing with remote viewing at 12 years old. And they start to ask deep and meaningful questions about the meaning of life. You can see this on YouTube if you put in the search engine, third-eyed children superhuman, and you'll see these children come up. We put them in school to be mentally institutionalized into a 5-sense world, and then their body starts going corrupt secretion during the daytime, and their sacred secretion dies by the time they're 12, and their nucleoside molecules, genetic repair kit, shuts down. And then it becomes a matter of selections. What selections they make through their life, and what they're entertained by, and what they eat. And this is where you get a variation. But they all die prematurely from stress-related diseases because their body cells are in corruption, corrosion, and looting in the daytime. And they have 600 to 7,000 defective genes in every Western civilization in the world, except for 1.3%. And it's not the Westerners sitting on a screen all day. They're the ones living in denial the most, right? Living in a personality with mentality to justify what they believe in, with New Age religions and New Age cults and new grammar, and select all the grammar in the mind that they live in their consciousness. In a mental event, in a mental process, an illusion, imagination set up by the Rockefellers with the conscious stimulated by WF through the whole Western civilization under the UN, by NATO, and by the Rockefellers with chaos in your body cells. And we proved that in Australia when we bring out a truth serum, the most powerful enlightenment drug and truth serum in the world, and bring down the highest debt time, haircut, cancer, violence, and domestic violence in 30 years, the course of Royal Commission paying out for 23 years, and the stolen bacteria and polio paying out today $250 billion, and the biggest mental health research ever conducted in global history, and the most powerful DNA study ever done. And my DNA leads to research from 2008 in the biggest study ever done, with the book Freedom by Jeremy McGivers, who claims they found the last human being born on earth that can do what Christ can and more, and every apostle in that bloodline DNA with genetic memory. And it's us. We were found in 2008. It was me, number 1 cab of the rank. Number one in every study done that brings a cure of the human condition into humanity for the first time in history. And Christ promised you this. Christ promised you this. Your Father promised this in the Bible, to go back in your primordial state, to cross over, to do what Christ can and more, and go in a new timeline with sevenfold wisdom and knowledge, to live with the tree of life in the Christ image, where you can do what Christ can and more, and it'll be possible in that bloodline, DNA, the book of life, with genetic memory and a genetic process, because it's in your DNA. And we activate your DNA with these abilities, with longevity, for 1,000 years, to go to a new time, where time stands still, life preserves, for 1,000 years, to create heaven and earth. To create heaven and earth, and that's what we're doing here. And we are the forefront leaders in the world, with the most powerful testimonies on earth, to cross over through the rebirth, and to go through a 3.5-year transformation in DNA, a transformation movement in DNA. So you genetically transfer with natural selection and stop the artificial selection, the unnatural selection. We put you through a 40-day fast, and that's when you reject all your unnatural selections and you start to go back in your primordial state with a crossover, and then you start a natural selection. Then you go through a transformation for 3.5 years, the same way that Christ taught the disciples so they could do what he can and more. And I'm the only one in the world teaching the same way that Christ learned for 40 days in the desert on fasting. Okay, and that's why I give you a specific process. 40 days he learned the truth and woke up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap. And he discovered who he was, and he said, I'm son of David, I'm son of Abraham. So he woke up from reincarnation, and he learned reincarnation and life after life, and he learned how to mastermind with the third eye, with the sixth sense, right, to use dimensional thinking. He goes in a time where time stands still, life preserves, into the past and future. You can see that with the Sumerian woman at the well. He tells her about the 5 husbands 20 years before he's born. That's why I know this. So when my mum told me I downed the bathtub, was the day I woke up from amnesia and realised that every other vision when I died is also real, in deja vu. So I see the future. And I saw the future of the inflection point of 227, of the point of no return on the 27th September, exactly 2,000 years when Christ was baptized by John, 27 September 27. And that's the inflection point of the crossover, 220 to 227 in the New Climate Club, with an end date of 27 September. You see that in a 2-minute video on YouTube. The most important number placed in the center of society. Okay, 220 to 227 countdown. And the clock is played to the 27th September, with the most important number placed in the center of our society. The same biologists and the same team wrote the book Freedom that's going to cure humanity. The same people. They also declared you in post-human stage, and that you lost your sixth sense going in a sixth mass extinction, stripping the sixth sense for the sixth time, right, on the 27th September 99 on my birthday. All these dates on my birthday. I'm the last one born. I'm the real Christ, right, that came back here with a genetic process and a genetic memory. I'm the son of Christ, son of David, son of Abraham. That's what I'm instructed to tell you. I woke up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap, and I didn't do that, right, until this moment. And this moment happened to me when I died in 2012 through the 212 phenomenon. And I went through a massive transformation for 3.5 years, and then taken to Perth Hospital with 2 top biologists and 2 top scientists from the biggest think tank in the world. And I was told I was the only one of a kind in a 34-year study done that brought the cure of the human condition, humanity, with my genetic process, right, and the things that I can do. So it was confirmed I was the only one when the most powerful documents ever developed on earth, right, that led to the book Freedom by Jeremy Griffiths, hailed by 16,000 top scholars in the world, the Holy Grail of life. You can't get a more powerful declaration. Okay, and when I breathe the program, the Holy Breath of Life, these 2 tools together, you listen to the book Freedom, you do when I breathe the program, you do a 40-day fast, you take zinc, iron, magnesium, vitamin C, B12, and take a bit of salicylic salt and water and drink lots of liquid. Isolate yourself, get off screens and radio waves, get away from your 5 sense world, get into yourself, inner self. Do when I'm breathing every day and meditate and close your eyes. Get into your sixth sense, right? You recreate the adrenochrome. You oxidize your blood with a meth effect, with MDMA, with the opiates, with a high effect. And you create the molecules into the sacred secretion. You create the sacred secretion to oxidize your blood with adrenochrome, which is adrenaline, with ephedra and meth, and a conductor, graphene oxide you conduct with. When you take your molecules, you conduct, and you conduct your body cells. You conduct your aura. You conduct your aura inside your body. And it shakes you a little bit the first few days, but you become so high, you become addicted to it. You become addicted to your own adrenochrome. And when you push it to the limits, you get as high as a kite. The most high you've ever been in your life. 10 times higher with a natural process and a sacred secretion. You get the euphoria of MDMA. You get the ecstasy feeling. You feel high as a kite. And what you do is in 40 days you do this while you're fasting. And I will take you outside your vessel. I'll take the skeleton or the spirit right out of your vessel. And you'll see things you've never seen before in your life. But I'll take you to the light of the tunnel and you'll see it yourself. And you'll feel it. And you'll feel why I'm here and who I am. In that moment, you realize I am the only one that can do this in 40 days. So that you get introduced to the demon that's inside yourself. And you break free from amnesia and the unnatural selection. In that moment, you get the biggest wow factor, and you don't really know what's going on because it's different. It's outside the mind. It's not in the mind. It's in your spirit. It's into your spirituality. It's into your primordial being. It's into your primordial state. It's outside your vessel. And then you start to go through an altercation. You start to alter. You start to go through a massive transformation. And through that transformation, you start to see yourself, and you start to go back in your history, back to your childhood, and realize all the things that went wrong with you and all the things you've done wrong. Like you repent, you go backwards, you look at your childhood, you realize what confused you and what got you inside your mind, your personality, yin and yang, good and evil. Do it, don't do it. Do it, don't do it. And give you 5 reasons why you shouldn't when you think critically. And then you realize your voices become your own worst enemy. As you go through this for 40 days, the voices turn on you. And you realize they're turning on you. You're turning against yourself. And for the first time, you realize your personality and your mentality, you were controlled by. You were controlled in here in the skull, in the mind. You're controlled in here in the conscious mind, and it'll tell you whatever you want to believe in the comfort zone. And you realize that it's just a personality. And you break free from that personality. And like Christ, the cross, talk back to Christ with 2 angels, 2 what? 2 servants. That's the crossover. You talk back to yourself like Keanu Reeves in the movie Matrix. He resurrects from the outside in. He controls his vessel from the outside. And he knows this because he's free. He's not trapped in his mind. He can respond 7 times buzzing a thing. He can use the third eye. He can use dimensional thinking. He can do everything way over and above beyond the mind. He can use 100% of his brain. Like the movie Limitless, the drug we developed. Like the movie Limitless, the drug we developed. The most powerful truth serum, the most powerful enlightenment drug, the most powerful love drug. And we create the sacred secretion ourselves. We recreate the sacred secretion that goes clockwise. Everything goes clockwise instead of anti-clockwise. We live anti-clockwise in our body and our DNA. Our repairs only work 3 hours a night. This goes clockwise. So when you go through this selection and you go right through the tunnel, you got to go to the point where you get lifted right out of your vessel and see it and feel it and cross over. Like when you die, it's a death experience because your personality dies. It starts to lose grip. So you have like a death experience because your personality turns on you. And for the first time you realize yin and yang and all the voices of mind are ultimately designed for human extinction because they're turning on you. They become your worst enemy and mine at the same time. And you realize that. And when you realize that, you'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. You'll see how beautiful the future is. Because you're seeing the future, and I'm showing you in deja vu. You're going to see where you're going. And that's the moment you're saved because you're shown. And then you go through a transformation for 3.5 years where you alter. And that transformation is things that come out of the blue. The light bulb idea, the picture that tells 1,000 words you cannot understand. Things are going to come to you. Things will come to you through a genetic memory, through a genetic process. And it's not here. The mind's the problem. Your mind plays tricks and games in you. You are your own worst enemy in here. Okay? You become your own prison, your own warden in here. It's a long, dark cave, and there's a lot of rabbit holes. Until you cross over, you'll never know. You can't possibly know. The mind can't work it out. The mind's the problem. The mind's the oppressor. The mind's your enemy. Right? Until you cross over. When you cross over, you go through a transformation where you are the cross that talks back to yourself. Like Christ. The cross talks to him. That's you talking back to yourself. You now see yourself instead of looking at everywhere else. And by understanding yourself correctly, you'll understand the human conditioning. You'll understand why you're in the state of mind that you're in. And that helps you understand why nobody else knows any better, because they're suffering from exactly the same thing. No matter who they are and where they come from. Some are deeper than others. Some are beyond the point of return. But it helps you understand that you did not know what you were doing in here, and nor does anybody else. For the first time you will see it, and you'll feel it, and you'll realize it's a truth that's going to set you free. And from that moment you're free. But you know what? It's not an easy process. It's very daunting and very uncomfortable as well. But you'll know, and you'll know that the love starts to pour all over you, and you keep meditating with Winoff as you go through this transformation. You don't stop, right? You get in balance with yourself, because you realize yin and yang is not your best friends. But as you cross over, you take control, and you'll realize the little tiny things that goes on in your mind every day that you never were aware of. The littlest moments in your life, the little tiny moments that you think all the time and think too much, you start to identify that you think too much, and it's not really you. It's the voices in your mind. It's not you, but you were trapped in there, but you're not anymore. And now you'll go through the transformation for 3.5 years where you get a grip of yourself, and you go through a lot of processes, and it's not an easy process. It's a 3.5 year transformation. It's the fastest on earth. Jeremy Giver says it's going to take decades. It takes masterminds decades. It took Moses 40 years, 3 generations with the Israelites. Christ was the only one that knew how to do this in 40 days, right? And through the transformation for 3.5 years, he was the only one that knew. That's how you'll know who I am. Because you're told in the Bible you will know with the tools that I have to resurrect humanity and how to protect the elect with the right tools. And I'll be the only one that knows the correct resurrection and how to resurrect humanity back in their primal state. Because Christ was the only one that knew. Nobody else has ever known, ever in human history. And it's recorded, I do. I am the leader of this. I've been doing this for a long time. I came to Social Media Platform 5 years ago. I've been doing this for 20 fucking years. Okay? You see, in the Star Chamber inquiry, the biggest think tank in the world, 113 people were arrested in Australia with godlike power, which means I also already developed 113 masterminds on those reports that can do everything I can as well. That was by 1999. That's 26 years ago. I'd already developed the biggest masterminds. We already developed the drug. Okay, that went throughout the whole system in Australia, in every testing centre, across the whole nation. Brought down the highest death toll, heroin, cocaine killing, gang killing and violence, domestic violence, mental disorders, defects, the whole lot, to the lowest in 30 years. To the lowest in 30 years. My arresting officer commends me and retires the police force. So do many others. And this is the adverse effect. The biggest mental health research our biggest DNA study ever done, where Jeremy McGivern says, we found the last people on earth that can do what Christ can and more in the biggest DNA study done. And here we have all the reports from the Star Chamber Inquiry and the authorities in every one of them. They're all fully recorded. Everyone's recorded as a criminal. From the underground world. In the Star Chamber Inquiry, where DNA studies done, all of us. We are the elect. We are the only elect in the world. And God created that way, with a drug, with bread and manna, that Christ and Moses used. And I developed that drug, the one that they used from a plant called mayim. It's a tree of life. When you know how to activate your pineal gland with the sacred secretion, it is the tree of life. And it gives you life like nothing in the world does. Life beyond the mind. Love beyond the mind. Feelings that are so high you do not know what you're missing out on. And most people will go in the abyss in a sixth mass extinction, stripping the sixth sense for the sixth time because they don't want some of this. And tell me, what kind of idiot wouldn't want some of this? What kind of moron would not want this? What kind of idiot would not want this? To be in the Christ image and to have all these tools and to have this kind of love pouring all over you is magnificent. It's something you never dreamt about, or you only ever dreamt about. It's something so far beyond the mind, you have no idea what you're missing out on. Until you cross over, until you discover the truth that's going to set you free and liberate you so far beyond your mind. The human conditioning, you can only feel 1 to 5% of your natural abilities. Imagine restoring that. You can use 7% of your brain. Imagine opening up a universal language with codependent feelings for the atmosphere and that kind of relationship that got you by the balls. With that kind of power and that kind of love, well, you never, ever can suffer ever again. Never suffer anything again. Imagine never suffering again. No more stress, fear, anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion, or paranoia, or living in some comfort zone. Just imagine. Because it's so far beyond your mind, you can't. You can't even begin to imagine. That's my point. You cannot even imagine. Trust me, you have to cross over to know that and go through the process that I've been through to know. When you know, there's nothing in your world, nothing in your mind, and no grammar in the world that can give you this. It's so far beyond your comprehension and your understanding and your wildest imagination, you don't know until you're there. You can't possibly know. It's impossible. It's impossible to understand or to know anything about it until you cross over, because every single thing is a clarification. The pictures tell you 1,000 words and you can't be deceived ever again. Every single thing unravels right in front of your eyes in ways that you cannot comprehend or understand. That's why you must go through this transformation to understand how it works, because it doesn't work the way your mind does. It works completely different than the way that you're developed to think and judge in your mind. Your mind doesn't understand. It's limited, it's oppressed, and it hasn't got a fucking clue. And what it's doing to you today is beyond your fucking mind, because it's trapping you into a spiritual soul trap. You're trapped inside a vessel in an experience, in a human experience, and you're having a terrible human experience, right, in a personality with mentality that controls you. And until you realize what you're all about and break free from that, you'll never know. You'll never fucking know. And it's not easy. Not with the lies going on in the world and all the social media actors that's got no idea what they're doing. They're just personalities. And they're controlled by stress, fear, and anxiety during the daytime because their body cells are corrupt illusion during the daytime. Every person on the screen are the most artificial people in the world that's only using grammar. And they don't know what they're talking about. They're not going through the transformation. They're not going through the resurrection. They're not going through the rebirth. They're not back in their primal state, in their innocence, in their childhood innocence. They're trapped in the personality, in the Hollywood character, American dreamer. They're selfish. They're self-centered. They're trapped into themselves. And they can't get out of it. They're trapped in themselves. They're trapped in selfishness. Self-centered people worldwide, actors, that do not know what they do. They haven't got a clue. They haven't got a clue. They're not qualified. They're just content thieves and credit thieves worldwide and care about nothing but themselves and their own opinions. And they're obsessed with themselves and possessed with the voice of mind that tells them to do that, beyond the point of return of majority. And it's mostly people on screens that are abnormal, not people in the streets. I can guarantee you that. And indigenous people, they're the most normal. Use some basic common sense. Where do you think humble people really are with real love and real relationships? You think it's in Westerners sitting on a screen and sitting on a couch all day? Is that what you believe? People sitting on screens all day, you think they're normal, do you? Are you that stupid? They're all post-transhumans. They're just robots and zombies. They're just mouthpieces and actors and wannabe actors. That's all they are. And that's what you mentally resonate with the most. You're not following your codependent power. You're not feeling the truth, man. There's no spirituality in these people. They don't even know what it is. Loyalty, honor, respect, moral, morals, inspiration, and encouragement. That's a spiritual person who has real love and understands what the meaning of life really is all about. As a father who's selfless, that would sacrifice himself for every child, because he knows God loves each and every one of them, as if they are the only one. He knows that. And I'm the only one that knows that. That's why I had more people, right, under my wing and more relationships than anybody else in the world ever seen. You understand what it takes to rise to the level I did, to bring every network together and stop violence and gang killing and save everybody? Save them from what they were suffering from? Do you know what that takes? It takes a real father. It takes a real father to take everybody under your wing across the whole nation and change the circumstances that much. That takes a real father around here. You think you're a father? You think your father's a father? I'm the biggest father the world's ever seen. I'm the most powerful father the world's ever seen. Because the Father's in me. That's the obvious. And he's come through the same way as last time. And I didn't know. I had no idea. Kim died. Went through a massive transformation, right? And a celestial primordial being, your Father, Christ himself, took this vessel and selected this vessel by natural selection and put me through a path for a reason until this very moment. And I didn't even know. I had no idea. I was trapped in my mind and I just did what I was told and followed that path without realizing it. Without realizing it, because I was living in my mind as well. No matter what I did, no matter what I achieved, no matter what I did and didn't do, I didn't know myself. And when I died in 2012, I got put through a special transformation and got sat down by top scholars and top scientists and told I was the only one. And then I had a massive divine intervention the next day. And then the Father took me right out of the vessel in broad daylight. I was sitting down having a moment of my life, the most beautiful moment where an orb of light came in and I felt the relationship of love pouring all over me. And next thing, I'm removed from my vessel in broad daylight, right, mesmerized in this beautiful moment, the greatest moment of my life. And I'm lifted right out of my shell through the light of the end tunnel, and I'm in another dimension where you die. I've been dead 3 times, I've been there before. So I go into this dimension where it's perfect, in a time where time stands still and life preserves. And I'm in there for a long time, buddy. This time I'm in there for a long, long time to revise my perception in a transformation. And what I was going through that transformation was a genetic memory and a genetic process. And then he showed me all the pictures from beginning to end. From 5,500 years ago, he showed me through Christ, David, and Abraham. He showed me everything about the history. He showed me everything about the future. And he showed me what's going to happen in the future. And he said, son, you're the only one, and you know. I've developed that way. There's 5 different biblical prophecies that land in your date of birth, son. Everything lands with you, son, and no one can lie. Look, guys, listen to me. If those birthdays aren't enough, September, Scales for Justice, 27, Holy Spirit, Divine Light, Book of Revelation, 27. Let me tell you something. Daniel 9:27, middle of 7, right? That's last year, and you'll see a supernova in the middle of 7. Jacob's star went a supernova. 144,000 orbs of light came from heaven and earth. 144,000 orbs of light came from heaven and earth, and I have a relationship with these orbs of light, and I'm not the only one. So I'm just telling you, 2 massive prophecies last year, right, on my birthday, September 27. And in the middle of 7, you'll see 2 moons, and that happened 4 days later. 3 massive prophecies. Okay, and I'm just telling you how it is. The last human being born on earth is me, born the 27th September 1960, Meterat, the king of all kings. And that's the way it is, right? The most powerful 3 signs when I'm born, and the Bible warns about me. Posthumous stage of my birthday, 27th September 1999, exactly 28 years later to the day, 1 and 999. Think about it, there's 999, 27, and 1. I'm the only one, okay? 28 years later today is the end of the new climate clock. 27 September 2227. 7-year countdown, 7-year lay. Middle of 7 last year on my birthday. Supernova, Daniel 9:27. Middle of 7, Jacob's travel. Jacob's star, supernova. 2,000 years when Christ was baptized by John, 27 September 27 to the day on the new climate clock. You can't make it up. Time travel 227 stands at every location when the world's biggest army of 335 million people shut every capital city down in 2019. That was the Extinction Rebellion, trying to stop the 6th mass extinction being stripped in the 6th sense for the 6th time. That's your spirituality. Your 6th sense is your spirituality. That's Book of Revelation 27. The Extinction Rebellion is the biggest army the world's ever seen. 335 million people shut every capital city down in 2019 because the world was arrogant, rude and ignorant, and a species in denial declared in 2003. All crazy and didn't care about the spirituality. Your 6th sense going to 6th mass extinction for the 6th time, that's your spirituality. That's your spirituality, your 6th sense. And that was reported on my birthday in 99, that your spirituality is going into extinction. That's what you're told. Your 6th sense is your spirituality going into extinction. And 98% of you disconnected from your spirituality. So if you think you're in a spirituality, you might want to think twice about your mentality and what you really believe in. Considering mental disorders and DDVX is at 98.7% with voltage reliability anti-clockwise, and there's no aura, there's no 6th sense, there's no spirituality in these species. So you might want to cross over and restore your 6th sense, or you go in the abyss. That's the obvious, because you're living in mentality with amnesia, trapped in a reincarnation trap, and you're going to be trapped for 1,000 years, and you're going to wish you had to listen. Bible warns you, you're going to suffer for 1,000 years, or you're going to be free for 1,000 years. To live up the timeline of 7-fold wisdom and knowledge, as we cross over from the timeline of deception for 700 years into a timeline of 7-fold wisdom and knowledge. And the crossover of these 2 timelines is 220 to 227. Mannequin knows it. Kim Clement predicted in 2013. I wrote my book in 2004, before everybody. I wrote my book in 2004, and they stopped it with 66 court orders because they knew that I knew when they saw it in the looking glass. That's why they're going around military bunkers. That's why they put military nuclear warnings on the bones everywhere around the world. That's why they're telling you get prepared for 3 days. Like the Bible says, for 3 days. NATO's telling you that worldwide mainstream. Why are they telling you that? Because what did Christ say? I'm son of David, son of Abraham. It'll be like the days of Noah and the days of Lot. The days of Lot, the orbs came, the lights, the stars within the stars, and they wiped out 5 cities. Gay society, child sex offenders, porn websites, people, drunken, naked drunks and druggos, disgusting, filthy Babylonians, and their gay society and all their self-centered agendas and their self-centered New Age religions all wiped out. The whole fucking lot. Only 5 people were saved. The orbs of light came from heaven to earth and wiped them out. The fucking lot, like they always do. The fucking lot. And that's why they're here. At 227, and 227, you will see the 6th mass extinction stripped from the 6th sense for the 6th time, because on the 27th September 227, it's the inflection point of no return. If you do not cross over by that day, you will not be saved. You will not be saved. You don't cross over back in your primordial state, in your 6th sense, you will not go through this stage into a new era of sevenfold wisdom knowledge. Only those that live in their spirituality will cross over, because they have a weapon so powerful that it's an aura, a shining armor, so powerful that no weapon from their can prosper. Those that think instinctively tune out of the program, the rest that are trapped in the mind and trapped in the program, will go into extinction. Take the red pill and you cross over and stick your head through the light and tunnel, as Plato describes in 15 books, the biggest and greatest philosopher of all time. And every philosopher has been footnotes of Plato. And Jeremy Gibbs studied human conditioning and Plato, and the human conditioning with Plato and DNA for 45 years, and found the cure of the human conditioning from the last human being born on earth that can do everything Christ can and more. So we teach you in 40 days how to cross over and go through the great transformation where you've been saved and you're going on your timeline. It's up to you. But believe me, I'm the only one, whether you believe it or not. And you cannot lie about me, and no one can. I cannot lie to you neither. Every document's there to back it up, and biblical signs land on my date of birth. I cannot lie to you, and nor can anybody else. The Father sent me. And if you don't believe in that, it's because you're a judgmental, competitive loser. You're a nefarious, right? You're an artificial human being, and you're a judgmental, competitive creature. We know who you are, because you're not human anymore. You can't even pretend to be human. The way I come through this world, I'm a people person. I love people. And when I was young, we had spiritual people here all over the earth. We had people with mental over the years, people with you and telekinesis on the streets everywhere without social media platform. And we were only 3 billion people. Now we're 8.2 billion, right? And everyone listens to screens 8 hours a day on average. And you can't see one of these spiritual people anywhere in the world. Not one of their new age can use mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, telekinesis, levitation, spoon bending, clock winding, or pole space and time with deja vu to predict the future. Not one has got dimensional thinking in their natural abilities with a natural selection and natural order in their life. They're unnatural. They're post-transhumans in a zombie apocalypse with divine syndromes going through the roof and mental disorders and defects, and they lost their magnetic pulse. They sold their souls out, and they don't even want it back because they don't care. They can't feel the truth anymore. There's no love in these species. They lost 95 to 99% of their love. Their aura's gone. So therefore they can't feel the truth. So they come to their own conclusion with reasoning. And reasoning is the age and nefarious. And that's the mentality they're all in their mind, in their mentality, in their personality. And they do not know what they do because with their amnesia. They can only 7% of their brain. They can use 15 at the most. They have amnesia. Their 24th chromosomes are dormant, so you can see it in study research. They're trapped in 23, the seed of the dragon, in the reptilian mentality. And their brain don't fucking work in 85 to 93%. Their 27 biosphere sensors don't fucking work. Their genetic memory doesn't fucking work. Their genetic ability and genetic repair kit doesn't fucking work, which means nothing in the mind works. Nothing you ever come to learn works. That's the obvious. When nothing works, you only live in the mind, on IQ, back to front, on reverse psychology engineering, and what you're programmed to believe in. And that's what you mentally resonate with. But you have no codependent unit of power. And we restore that. Your aura in your body cells is your 6th sense, it's spirituality, and is the only thing that's going to cure every single thing you suffer from, is your spirituality. If you don't cross over into your spirit, into your celestial primordial state, then you haven't got heaven and hell in your mentality. I promise you. I'm right. And everybody in the world is wrong about this one. I'm the most righteous human being on earth with the most authentic DNA in the world to back it up. And the most powerful confirmation that I can resurrect humanity back in their primal state with the most powerful success rate. But you've got to want to do it yourself. And you are your own worst enemy. And that's why most people fail, because they're beyond the point of return. And you need to think twice about this. And don't let your mind deceive you. Don't let your mind make your mind up for you. That's the worst thing you can do. That's the worst thing you can do. You've got to restore your spirituality and get out of your mentality. Because your mentality is the biggest soul trap in your ministry, and your soul don't work. Get with the program. Who are you really? Maybe you're not one of us. Maybe you're one of the other species with a different God. Maybe you haven't got a care factor. Maybe you've got no love at all. I can tell you this. You have to feel the truth and not think about it. You have to feel the truth, buddy. You have to feel the real truth. That's why I put you through this.